Imagine an ensemble of colossal stone blocks standing on an open expanse of the English landscape, where each morning the wind whispers its ancient secrets. Stonehenge, this enigmatic megalithic complex built around 3,000 years before our era, continues to raise numerous questions about its purpose and construction methods. Scientific research indicates that some of the stones weighed up to 50 tons, and their transportation could have been carried out from distances of up to 240 kilometers. This raises the question, how did ancient people manage such a task without modern technologies? One of the theories suggests that Stonehenge was used as an observatory where ancient astronomers tracked the movement of the sun and moon. For example, on the day of the summer solstice, sunlight penetrates through the open spaces between the stones, creating an effect that could be used to determine the time of year. Other researchers believe that this complex served as a ritual center, where ceremonies related to the worship of gods or ancestors were performed. A third version points to the possible use of Stonehenge as a healing place, where people came for help and healing. The astronomical alignment of the stones is also intriguing. They are arranged in precise accordance with certain astronomical phenomena, which may indicate deep knowledge of astronomy among ancient people. Research shows that the structure of Stonehenge could have been connected to the cycle of the solar and lunar annual calendar, as evidenced by findings from excavations. The wind passing between the obelisks creates sounds that can be compared to the whispers of ancient spirits, and the coolness emanating from the stones reminds us of the time when they were placed here. These stones, like keepers of secrets, were gathered from local quarries and possibly even from more distant regions, requiring significant effort and organization. Within this complex, one can feel a special atmosphere that captivates and makes one ponder the true purposes of its creation. Researchers such as Dr. Timothy Darville from Brunel University claim that Stonehenge could have served multiple functions simultaneously, making it a unique monument not only for Britain, but for the entire human race. Moreover, over the centuries, Stonehenge has attracted the attention of numerous researchers, from archaeologists to astronomers, each striving to unravel its mysteries. It is hard to overlook that this complex has become a symbol of an ancient civilization possessing deep knowledge of the world and humanity. Stonehenge remains an object of study, where each new discovery can shed light on its purpose and construction methods. Astronomers and archaeologists continue to investigate it to understand how ancient people could have created such a monumental structure and how it could have been used in their daily lives. Scientific data confirm that on certain days of the year, such as the winter and summer solstices, Stonehenge becomes a center of attention for many people seeking to connect with its history. Thus, despite all attempts to decipher its secrets, Stonehenge remains one of the most mysterious structures of antiquity, and its grandeur continues to inspire generations of researchers and travelers. In the scorching desert of Peru, there are the Nazca lines, mysterious geoglyphs that depict images of animals, plants, and complex geometric figures. These enormous drawings, some of which reach a length of 370 meters, were likely created between the 3rd century BC and the 8th century AD. They were etched onto the surface of the desert by removing the upper layer of black stones and exposing the lighter soil beneath. Due to the region's arid climate, with virtually no rainfall, these images have remained in remarkably good condition for centuries. For instance, geometric figures such as triangles and straight lines exhibit extraordinary precision and symmetry, raising questions about the capabilities of ancient designers. Researchers have proposed various theories about the purpose of these geoglyphs. Some suggest they could have been a calendar for tracking solar and lunar cycles, while others believe they might have been maps indicating water sources in this harsh climate. There is also a theory that the lines served as ritual paths along which ancient inhabitants conducted ceremonies or sent messages to gods, invoking higher powers for rain or harvest. Wandering through these desolate expanses, one feels the heat that scorches the skin, and the wind whispers in the ears, raising a cloud of fine sand and creating a contrast between the lifeless landscape and the elegance of the images that seem to come alive in their grandeur. Concurrently, research conducted by American archaeologist Paul Kosok in the 1970s confirmed the systematic planning involved in creating these figures. Kosok discovered that some of them were aligned with specific astronomical events, adding further mystery to the already intriguing history of the Nazca Lines. Today, these geoglyphs are a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and their study continues to attract the attention of scientists and tourists from around the world, eager to unravel the secrets they hold. The Nazca Lines are not just geometric figures on sand. They are a legacy of ancient cultures that have left their mark on human history, and their significance continues to be debated among researchers. It's hard to imagine, but the construction of the Egyptian pyramids raises so many questions that some of them remain unanswered even after several thousand years. The Pyramid of Cheops, the largest of the surviving ones, consists of more than 2 million stone blocks, each weighing up to 80 tons. These blocks were cut so precisely that the gaps between them do not exceed 1 millimeter, making the fitting of the stones an outstanding achievement of ancient builders. The orientation of the pyramids towards the cardinal directions is also astonishing. The sides of the Pyramid of Cheops point perfectly to the cardinal directions, with an error of only a few degrees. This is achieved through the use of astronomical observations, which allowed the ancient Egyptians to accurately determine east and west. Researchers propose various theories about how these heavy blocks were transported to the construction site. One of the most common theories suggests the use of inclined planes, along which the stones were raised with the help of slaves and animals. Other historians point to the existence of complex systems of levers that could facilitate the lifting and moving of the stones. There are also hypotheses that the blocks could have been transported by waterways using the Nile, which significantly eased their transportation over long distances. The work was carried out under the scorching sun of the desert, with the atmosphere filled with the sounds of stones rubbing against each other and the sweat dripping from the foreheads of thousands of workers, who were mercilessly tormented by the high temperatures. The smell of limestone hung in the air, mixed with the smell of sweat and fatigue, and the shadows cast by the magnificent pyramids at sunset created the illusion that the pyramids themselves were watching the work of their creators. These monumental structures stand as evidence not only of engineering genius, but also of the enormous efforts expended on their construction. The Pyramid of Cheops, for example, was built around 2,500 years before our era, and it continues to inspire awe with its grandeur and precision. In the jungles of Central America, mysteries left behind by the suddenly vanished Maya civilization remain hidden. Their magnificent cities, once bustling with life, were abandoned between the 8th and 9th centuries AD. During this time, centers like Tikal and Palenque thrived, but soon emptiness engulfed the once crowded plazas, and the grand temples, once filled with life, became mere echoes of past glory. The theories about the causes of this disappearance are diverse and contradictory. One of the most widespread theories suggests that a drought that struck the region led to water scarcity and, consequently, the collapse of agriculture. Research indicates that between the 800th and 900th years AD, rainfall levels dropped sharply, which could have had catastrophic consequences for the agricultural economy of the Maya. Additionally, depletion of resources, such as wood for construction and fuel, may have played a decisive role in the crisis. The excessive felling of forests for building and expanding cities exacerbated the environmental situation. Furthermore, epidemics, possibly caused by contact with other cultures, could have reduced the population. Some scholars point to military conflicts and social unrest, which undermined the stability of society, as significant factors contributing to this process. Ancient cities like Copan and Calakmul are now shrouded in the rustle of leaves, and the sounds of wild animals like monkeys and jaguars fill the space once filled with human activity. Tree branches reach for the sky, and light filters through cracks in the stone walls, creating an atmosphere of mystery and desolation. Each abandoned palace, covered in moss and vines, serves as a reminder of the former glory and complex fate of this people. 80% of the cities founded by the Maya remain abandoned, while their magnificent architectural achievements and complex systems of governance continue to inspire awe and bewilderment among modern researchers. For instance, in Tikal, researchers have identified more than 300 objects, including temples, plazas, and aqueducts, which demonstrate a high level of engineering skill. As a result, the mystery of the Mayas' disappearance remains one of the most intriguing topics in archaeology, attracting the interest of scholars and travelers from around the world. Legends about lost civilizations always stir the imagination and ignite a desire for adventure. Research into the location of Atlantis, the mysterious island mentioned by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias around 300 years before our era, has been ongoing for more than 2,000 years. In these texts, Plato describes Atlantis as a powerful state located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, modern-day Gibraltar, which, according to his accounts, sank into the ocean as a result of a catastrophe. Plato claimed that Atlantis was more advanced than ancient Greece, possessing highly developed technologies and culture, which has drawn the attention of many researchers. Since then, numerous hypotheses have been proposed regarding the location of this mythical island. One of the most popular theories suggests that Atlantis was located in the Mediterranean Sea, which is linked to ancient records of the Santorini volcano, which could have been the source of the catastrophe. Other researchers believe that the island could have been in the Atlantic Ocean, where, in their opinion, there could have been a submerged continental formation. There are even theories that Atlantis could have been located in the North Sea, in the vicinity of the modern-day Orkney Islands, where archaeologists have found traces of ancient civilizations that mysteriously disappeared. Some scientists propose that Atlantis could have been in the Caribbean basin, pointing to underwater structures found in the vicinity of Cuba and the Bahamas. Even Antarctica has not been overlooked. Some researchers claim that under the ice cover, remnants of ancient civilizations that once inhabited this region could be hidden. All these routes lead through the boundless oceanic expanses, where the roar of the sea waves carries away the secrets, and the salty smell of the sea creates an atmosphere of mystery and adventure. The vast waters, concealing ancient secrets, continue to attract adventurers willing to risk everything for the idea that on the ocean floor, a world unknown to us but described in myths might be hidden. Scientific research, such as underwater archaeology and geological studies, continues, and scientists hope that one day they will be able to unravel this ancient enigma. In the 20th century, archaeologist Benjamin Smith from Boston University proposed a hypothesis that the Atlanteans could have been the ancestors of the Caribbean Indians, linking the myth to real historical events. In the year 2021, a group of underwater archaeologists discovered underwater structures near the island of Crete, which could confirm the existence of a highly advanced civilization like Atlantis. These findings open new horizons for discussion and research, continuing to intrigue both scientists and history enthusiasts. The Great Sphinx of Giza, a monumental structure, has been observing the world for more than 4,000 years. Its length is 17 meters and its height reaches 20 meters. The Sphinx is carved from a single block of limestone, making it not only massive, but also a durable monument of ancient civilization. It is believed to have been created during the reign of Pharaoh Khafra, around 2,500 years before our era. There are many theories about its function. Some researchers believe that the Sphinx served as a guardian of the necropolis. Others see it as a symbol of the solar deity, while some think it served as an astronomical marker, indicating important events in the solar cycle. The legend of the Dream of Thutmose adds to the mystery of this enigmatic figure. According to the legend, Pharaoh Thutmose IV, tired from hunting, fell asleep at the feet of the Sphinx. In his dream, he saw the Sphinx speaking to him, "Free me from the sand, and I will reward you." This legend adds a touch of mystique to the already mysterious figure. Furthermore, there may be hidden chambers under the Sphinx's paws which have not yet been explored, leaving open questions about the purpose of this giant. The weathered stone of the Sphinx has absorbed the history of centuries, its face reflecting the play of light and shadow depending on the time of day, creating an atmosphere of eternity and mystery. In the morning, the sun's rays touch its features, emphasizing the details, while in the evening, shadows conceal its secrets, leaving viewers to ponder what else might be hidden under its ancient pores. This ancient structure continues to be an object of study and admiration, and its size and form evoke respect for the skill of the ancient Egyptians. The height of the Sphinx, at 20 meters, is comparable to the 6-meter ceilings of modern buildings, underscoring its grandeur and majesty. Few people consider that the ancient Romans created concrete that not only withstood the test of time, but continues to amaze modern engineers. This unique material, known as pozzolana, was produced by mixing lime with volcanic ash extracted from the vicinity of Naples. Such concrete had the remarkable property of setting underwater, which was a true revolution in construction. An example of this is the Pantheon, built in the 1st century AD, whose dome remains the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world, with a diameter of exactly 40 meters. Roman engineering achievements did not stop at concrete. They constructed aqueducts that supplied cities with clean water, using gradients and arches to lift water to significant heights. The aqueduct in Septimius, built in the 1st century, was over 100 kilometers long and served the city until the 18th century. The coolness felt inside the thermae, built by the Romans, remains unforgettable even on hot days. These vast complexes, such as the baths of Caracalla, could accommodate up to 3,000 people and offered not only bathing, but also opportunities for conversation and relaxation. The smoothness of the stone polished by centuries seems to tell the story of thousands of feet that have walked these corridors, creating an unforgettable sound when water flows through marble fountains. Roman roads built using a multi-layered technology still serve as the foundation for modern highways. The Appian Way, constructed in 311 BC, connected Rome with southern Italy and was so durable that part of it has survived to this day, allowing modern travelers to follow in the footsteps of ancient legions. The engineering achievements of the ancient Romans became the foundation for subsequent civilizations, leaving an indelible mark on the history of architecture and construction. Imagine a black basalt stone that became the key to unraveling one of the most mysterious scripts in human history. The Rosetta Stone, discovered in 1799 by French soldiers in Egypt, turned into a true artifact that opened the doors to the world of ancient Egyptian culture and language. A stele about 1 meter high and 70 centimeters wide contains 3 texts in different languages, the top one in ancient Greek, the middle one in Demotic, and the bottom one in hieroglyphs. This approach allows for comparing texts and finding correspondences between languages, which in turn formed the basis for deciphering hieroglyphs. Jean-François Champollion, a talented French linguist and archaeologist, used the Rosetta Stone in 1822 for his groundbreaking work, which led to the decipherment of the hieroglyphic script. He noticed that the hieroglyphs contained names of pharaohs and gods, such as Ptolemy and Isis, and used this knowledge as a starting point for further research. Using a method now known as graphic analysis, Champollion was able to match signs with their sounds and meanings. This breakthrough opened access to a vast amount of historical texts, including religious scrolls, records of everyday life of ancient Egyptians, and even scientific works. Thus, the Rosetta Stone became not just an object of study, but a symbol of the return of a forgotten language. Its rough surface, contrasting with the carved signs on it, allows us to feel history with our fingertips, immersing us in a world where pharaohs ruled over lands and gods watched over every step of humanity. As a result of decipherment, we learned about such crucial aspects of Egyptian culture as their religious beliefs, rituals, and social structure. For example, we discovered that ancient Egyptians believed in an afterlife and built grand tombs for their rulers to ensure their comfort in eternity. Moreover, Champollion and his successors were able to interpret complex myths related to gods such as Osiris and Horus, providing new insights into their place in the culture. Since then, the Rosetta Stone has become not only an object of study, but also a symbol of cultural exchange and scientific progress, opening doors to a long-lost era. Remarkably, ancient builders possessed extraordinary astronomical knowledge, which allowed them to accurately orient their temples and monuments relative to solar and lunar events. For instance, the Temple of Abu Simbel, built in the 13th century BC during the reign of Pharaoh Ramesses II, is illuminated twice a year, on the day of his birth and the day of his coronation. At these times, sunlight penetrates the sanctuary and illuminates the statues of the gods, creating an effect of incredible light and shadow that leaves viewers in awe. Simultaneously, in Mexico, the Pyramid of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza demonstrates its remarkable astronomical effect during the spring and autumn equinoxes. When the sun is in a specific position, an illusion of a moving snake appears on the pyramid's steps, as shadows and light create a stunning visual effect that leaves viewers breathless with admiration. These structures are not merely stone constructions. They were designed as places of worship and observation of celestial phenomena, adding a sacred dimension to them. Stonehenge, located in England and dating back to around the 3rd millennium BC, also exhibits its astronomical precision. On the day of the summer solstice, sunlight penetrates between the ancient stones, creating a unique light and sound spectacle where shadows and light play on the faces of viewers, evoking a sense of reverence and connection to ancient ancestors. The sounds of modern viewers' awestruck whispers among these monuments enhance the atmosphere, reminding us that even after thousands of years, these places continue to inspire and amaze. These examples demonstrate how ancient civilizations used astronomical knowledge to create architectural marvels that served not only practical purposes, but also for spiritual connection with the cosmos. The pyramids in Giza, for example, were built so that their sides are perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions, as confirmed by modern research. Each angle of the Great Pyramid of Khufu is precisely oriented towards the north, making it one of the most accurate structures of its time. All this astronomical calculation and skill awaited their moment to impress us, their descendants, with their majestic simplicity and depth of design. In Mexico lies Teotihuacan, one of the most enigmatic ancient cities, built by unknown architects who left behind only mysteries and monumental structures. The pyramids of the sun and the moon, towering over the city, are impressive in their size. The Pyramid of the Sun stands at approximately 63 meters in height, making it one of the largest in the world, with a base area exceeding 14 hectares. Although the Pyramid of the Moon is smaller in size, it is no less impressive, reaching 47 meters in height and serving as an important part of the city's overall layout. The Avenue of the Dead, stretching for 2.5 kilometers, connects these two monumental structures and creates a sense of openness where each step echoes off the ancient walls and the wind softly whispers between the stones. The geometric layout of Teotihuacan is striking in its precision. Streets intersect at right angles, and buildings are aligned with astronomical references, indicating the high level of knowledge possessed by the architects and astronomers of the time. This city was not founded by the Aztecs, as many assume. Its history dates back to the early centuries of our era, when it reached its peak, with a population that could have numbered up to 200,000 people. The reasons for the abandonment of Teotihuacan remain an unsolved mystery. It could have been due to internal conflicts, economic difficulties, or climate changes. Research shows that during its decline, the city may have been abandoned for a short period, leaving behind many unanswered questions. Contemporary archaeologists, such as Dr. Mario Gomez from the Mexican Institute of Anthropology, continue to study this unique civilization, analyzing tools, ceramics, and other artifacts that help reconstruct the life in Teotihuacan. Every stone here, every architectural element, is not just a remnant of an ancient culture, but a key to understanding how the people who left this city lived, dreamed, and created, leaving it as a legacy for future generations. The pyramids, streets, and plazas of Teotihuacan continue to hold the spirit of the time and the mysteries that may never be fully deciphered. Imagine for a moment the crystal skulls discovered in Central America, each seemingly capable of not only reflecting light, but also leading to deep contemplation of the mysteries of antiquity. These artifacts, crafted from pure quartz, are remarkable for their flawless polish and anatomical precision. Their creation required not only skill, but also knowledge that, according to some researchers, may have been lost over the centuries. The skulls have a smooth surface, and light passing through their transparent structure creates unusual rainbow-like glimmers, as if they are alive. Some of them measure between 30 and 40 centimeters in height and weigh up to 7 kilograms. These artifacts evoke not only admiration, but also awe, as their empty eye sockets, gazing at the observer, create the sensation that they are watching every movement. There are conflicting theories about their origin. Some scientists believe they are genuine ancient artifacts with mystical properties, used in rituals and ceremonies. For example, in 1930, one such skull was found in Mexico, which researchers claim was created by the Aztecs, although there are no documentary proofs of this. Others, including the renowned archaeologist and anthropologist David Houston, assert that these skulls are skillful forgeries from the 19th century, created to attract tourists and researchers. Houston finds traces of modern production in them, such as grinding machine marks and unnatural lines. This debate intensifies with each new discovery, and every time the skulls are exhibited at auctions or in museums, they spark heated discussions among historians and archaeologists. Nevertheless, for centuries, the skulls have retained their aura of mystery. A cold crystal touching the skin evokes the feeling of touching the very essence of historical heritage. Their presence in museums and private collections is often accompanied by legends about their healing properties or ability to predict the future. It is interesting that even in the 21st century, some researchers are trying to determine how ancient cultures could have processed such materials without modern technologies. Scientists like Mario Gutierrez conduct experiments with modern tools to recreate the process that could have led to the creation of such complex forms, but the results remain inconclusive. As a result, the crystal skulls remain not only objects of admiration, but also sources of unsolved questions about the true capabilities of human civilizations and how they could have created such captivating artifacts. Each skull is not just a work of art, but a whole history filled with mysteries and contradictions that continue to intrigue both scientists and history enthusiasts. There are different versions about the number of such skulls. Some researchers claim there are only 8, while others say there are more than 10 surviving examples. Each one is a unique artifact that continues to stir minds and serves as a reminder that there is still much unexplored in human history. The Library of Alexandria was not merely a repository of knowledge, but a true symbol of the intellectual grandeur of the ancient world. Its walls housed up to 700,000 scrolls, comprising a collection of works across various fields of science and art. Founded in the 3rd century BCE at the command of Ptolemy I Soter, the library gathered and organized texts from every known corner of the world. Every ship arriving at the port of Alexandria underwent meticulous inspection. Copies of all texts were taken from it to enrich the library's collection. This process involved numerous scholars and scribes who tirelessly worked, copying scrolls and creating an atmosphere of quiet rustling of papyrus intermingled with the scent of fresh parchment. Softly glowing oil lamps illuminated the ancient texts, fostering a unique atmosphere of concentration and inspiration. However, despite all efforts, the library faced numerous threats. A fire that broke out during Julius Caesar's siege of Alexandria in 42 BCE is considered one of the most catastrophic events in its history, as a significant portion of the collection was destroyed. However, this is not the only theory about its demise. According to another version, after the city was conquered by the Caliph Omar in the 7th century CE, the library was destroyed by his order. He reportedly said that if the texts contradicted the Quran, they were not needed, and if they agreed, they were superfluous. Many researchers believe that the library also suffered from a gradual decline. Lack of funding and focus on new forms of knowledge led to its diminishing significance over time. Not only were the scrolls lost, but the very idea that knowledge could be preserved and passed down through generations was also destroyed. The Library of Alexandria became a victim not only of physical destruction, but also of oblivion, leaving behind only shadows that continue to stir the minds of researchers and history enthusiasts. There is much debate about how much knowledge was lost forever. Scholars still cannot accurately assess what part of the world's heritage was lost with the destruction of this great library. The Sphinx in Giza, with its silent majesty, seems to guard secrets that may be much deeper than we are accustomed to think. There are theories suggesting that this monument could be older than the officially recognized age of 4,500 years. Geologists like Robert Schoch claim that the erosion marks on the body of the Sphinx, including deep grooves and cracks, indicate exposure to heavy rainfall. These rains could have occurred during a period when Egypt's climate was significantly wetter, implying that the Sphinx might have been created more than 10,000 years ago, when the region experienced rainfall rather than the current desolate desert. The erosion that has left its mark on the stone gives the Sphinx an ancient appearance, as if it has been a victim of time's playful games. Additionally, its astronomical alignment with the constellation Leo during the era of 10,500 years before our time emphasizes its connection to ancient cosmological knowledge. At the time when the Sphinx might have been built, this constellation was on the eastern horizon at the time of the vernal equinox. Light breaking through the clouds gently touches its weathered face, creating a play of light and shadow that highlights every crack and indentation, as if the stone itself whispers about forgotten times. This contrast between light and shadow, between eternity and transience, makes the viewer ponder how many secrets are hidden behind its calm gaze. The Sphinx, with its shy expression, may not be just a guardian of tombs, but a symbol of lost knowledge and wisdom, leaving behind only questions without answers. Research conducted in the last decades shows that many architectural and geological aspects of the Sphinx may indicate a much more complex history than previously thought. Long debates among scientists and archaeologists confirm that the true age of the Sphinx may not only be a subject of study, but also a real challenge to our understanding of ancient civilizations. The arguments about climate changes and astronomical orientation create a new paradigm for understanding this mysterious structure. The Sphinx, the giant guardian, continues to observe the world, remaining at the center of numerous theories and disputes, which, like a mosaic, form images of ancient times. Scientific research conducted in recent years reveals new details that enrich its history. In particular, the use of georadars and other technologies allows us to look beneath the surface and learn more about what this stone, standing guard over time, hides. There are many questions about how and for what purpose the Sphinx was built, and it seems that with each new discovery, we are getting closer to unraveling its ancient mystery. These studies may help shed light on the culture and technologies of ancient Egypt, which remain largely mysterious and unknown. In ancient texts from various cultures, there are descriptions of extraordinary and enigmatic chariots of the gods, which, according to the authors, were used by deities. For instance, the Vedas mention Vayu, which are described as flying machines that emit bright light and produce loud sounds. These descriptions evoke associations with modern concepts of flying machines. In the Bible, in the book of Ezekiel, there is also a mention of wheels that moved by the power of the Spirit and were accompanied by fiery flashes and thunderous sounds. Sumerian texts such as the Epic of Gilgamesh also contain descriptions of divine devices that could move through the air and cause strong winds and storms. Against this backdrop, Erich von Daniken's theory suggests that these descriptions could be evidence of contact with extraterrestrial beings. He points to parallels between ancient texts and modern stories about UFOs, arguing that our ancestors might have interpreted alien technologies as divine phenomena. However, there is also an opposing view that these descriptions are metaphors for natural phenomena like lightning or thunder, serving as a reflection of humanity's attempt to explain the unknown through the lens of mythology. It is important to note that many researchers interpret these texts as symbolic constructs that illustrate not so much real events, but rather the inner experiences and cultural beliefs of ancient peoples. For example, in the Sumerian myth of the chariot of the god Shamash, the bright glow and noise symbolize his divine power and authority. These images, filled with light and sound, create a sense of grandeur and magic that is impossible to ignore. The comparison of various mythological descriptions of chariots can serve as an indicator of how humanity has always sought to explain its place in the world and its interaction with the unknown. In Sumer, for instance, the concept of God's machines was widespread, and some researchers believe these could have been early forms of technology that were not understood by their creators. There is also a view that some of these texts may have been distorted over time, adding elements that do not correspond to their original meaning. Interestingly, in some cultures, these descriptions of wheels were not only endowed with physical properties, but also with spiritual ones, emphasizing their importance in religious rituals. Ancient priests often used the images of chariots in their ceremonies to create an atmosphere of grandeur and divine presence. Overall, these approaches demonstrate the complexity and multifaceted nature of the perception of the divine in ancient texts. Today, such research continues to generate interest and debate among scholars and history enthusiasts, highlighting the importance of understanding the context and cultural specifics in which these textual artifacts were created. Comparing various descriptions of chariots in texts from different cultures allows for the identification of parallels and common features, which can be useful for a deeper understanding of ancient civilizations. As a result, the study of these ancient texts not only reveals secrets of the past, but also underscores the universality of human experience and the drive to explore the unknown. The map of Piri Reis, created in 1513, remarkably demonstrates the coastline of Antarctica, which was then hidden under a thick layer of ice. This Ottoman admiral and cartographer, Piri Reis, claimed to have used ancient sources, including works by ancient authors such as Eratosthenes and Strabo, to compile his map. It not only depicts known lands, but also includes sections that, according to modern understanding, could not have been known at that time. For example, the map includes details that precisely match modern representations of the Antarctic coastline, although the land itself remained unexplored until the beginning of the 20th century. This raises many questions about possible ancient civilizations or navigation technologies that could have allowed people to explore such remote and inaccessible regions. Modern research shows that the map was created with extraordinary accuracy. For instance, some scientists note that the contours depicted on the map match underwater reliefs that were only discovered in recent decades thanks to modern cartographic and hydrological methods. Research conducted in 2006 using radar sounding confirmed that the subglacial topographic features indeed correspond to those shown on the Piri Reis map. These facts highlight the mysterious nature of ancient maps and make one wonder about the knowledge possessed by their creators. Other ancient maps, such as the Mercator map, created in 1520, also arouse interest due to their details that preceded the era of great geographical discoveries and spark debates about how and where ancient cartographers obtained their knowledge. For example, some maps dated to 1418 depict regions that were not opened to Europeans until the 16th century. These artifacts not only challenge traditional notions of geographical knowledge in the Middle Ages, but also open doors to possible secrets hidden in the depths of history. The question of how Piri Reis and his contemporaries could have obtained such accurate data continues to puzzle scientists and researchers, leading to contemplations about possible contacts between ancient cultures that may have existed long before documented encounters. Specifically, such hypotheses about interactions between civilizations on different continents remain a subject of active scientific debate. These maps, like the Piri Reis map, become not just geographical tools, but some kind of secret messages from the depths of time, requiring careful analysis and interpretation. Imagine holding in your hands an ancient artifact, which might be the first known device for generating electricity. The Baghdad battery, dating back approximately 250 years before our era, is a clay vessel about 20 centimeters tall. Inside this vessel is a copper cylinder with an iron rod, which is believed to have been used for creating electrical current. When filled with an electrolyte such as vinegar or lemon juice, the vessel can generate a small voltage, measured in several volts. Experiments conducted by modern scientists have confirmed that with the right solution, this device can exhibit phenomena reminiscent of electrical current. Research indicates that such a construction could have been used for electroplating metals, allowing ancient craftsmen to coat less precious metals with a layer of more valuable metal, creating the appearance of gold or silver. Some theories suggest that the Baghdad battery could also have been used for medical purposes, possibly for treating diseases through electrical stimulation. Others claim that its use might have been related to religious rituals, where a small current could create the illusion of miracles. Picture how a heavy, tarnished metal might feel in the hands of an ancient person, and how a slight tingling sensation upon contact with the functioning device would evoke not only surprise, but also fear. The very existence of such a device in antiquity challenges traditional notions of the technological progress of ancient civilizations. Considering that the Baghdad battery was found in Iraq, in the territory of ancient Mesopotamia, the question of how it was used and by whom remains open. It is important to note that there is still no consensus among scientists regarding the purpose of this artifact, and each new discovery only adds more mysteries to the existing ones. The Baghdad battery is not just an exhibit in a museum. It is a window into a world where scientific knowledge and magic could coexist, and where ancient craftsmen used their knowledge to create extraordinary things. Scientific experiments show that even with a simple device like the Baghdad battery, remarkable results could be achieved, which today seem astonishing. In the caves of Liguria in northern Italy, there are rock paintings that have sparked numerous debates among researchers. These images, dating back approximately 10,000 years, depict strange figures that resemble modern submarines. Some of these images feature contours that appear to be streamlined bodies with windows and even periscopes, leading to speculation that ancient people might have seen and imagined something similar to contemporary submarines. These paintings were discovered in the early 2000s by an Italian archaeological team led by Professor Giorgio Ferrari, who noted that such images could be the result of deep observations of the surrounding nature. The coolness of the caves where these artifacts were found creates a unique atmosphere. The dim light and the quiet sound of dripping water enhance the sense of mystery. Researchers offer various interpretations of these images. Some believe they are evidence of ancient technologies that may have existed long before our era. Others provide more rational explanations, arguing that they are stylized depictions of boats or even animals, such as fish or marine mammals, which could have been part of the mythology and cultural practices of the time. Viewing these artifacts raises questions about how ancient people perceived their environment and used images to convey knowledge. These paintings not only leave traces in the history of art, but also open a window into the world of ancient beliefs and technologies. Each of these paintings could have served not only as an artistic expression, but also as a practical tool for transmitting knowledge about navigation and sea voyages. It is interesting that in some records, it is mentioned that the caves were used as sanctuaries, and it is possible that these images were part of rituals related to the sea. Comparison with other rock art shows that on different continents, such as Australia or Alaska, there are similar images, which may indicate a similarity in cultural perceptions of water and travel. According to researchers, this underscores the universality of human desire to explore marine spaces. The discovered paintings confirm that people in that era already had an understanding of watercraft, which changes our understanding of their technological capabilities. Comparison with modern submarines raises questions about how rich the imagination of ancient people was and how it could have influenced their way of life. These artifacts serve as important evidence that throughout the centuries, humans have sought ways to interact with their environment, and their significance goes beyond simple art. becoming part of a broader cultural context. Currently, research continues, and each new analysis of the paintings can bring fresh ideas about ancient life, opening new horizons for understanding human history. Comparison with similar findings around the world suggests that such images could have been part of a universal human experience related to the sea and travel. In this context, the Ligurian rock paintings become not just artifacts, but true keys to understanding the evolution of human thought and technology. Amazing knowledge about celestial phenomena was characteristic of many ancient civilizations, and their achievements in astronomy continue to inspire awe. For instance, the Maya, who lived in Central America, created a calendar that allowed them to accurately calculate the length of the solar year to within 20 seconds. They used their observations of the sun, moon, and stars to compile complex tables that helped in predicting eclipses and other astronomical events. This was not just a hobby. They linked their observations with religious rituals, giving their astronomical knowledge special significance. The Babylonians, located in the territory of modern-day Iraq, also achieved remarkable success in astronomy. They were the first to predict lunar eclipses based on cycles of eclipses, known as series. Their eclipse tables, dating back to around the 6th century BCE, demonstrate a deep understanding of cyclical natural phenomena and their interrelations. The builders of Newgrange in Ireland created unique megalithic structures designed so that the sun would illuminate their internal spaces only on the day of the winter solstice. This event, occurring on December 21st, was important for the agricultural calendars of ancient peoples, symbolizing the rebirth of light and the beginning of a new cycle. In this context, the night sky, studded with stars, served not only as a source of inspiration, but also as a practical tool for planning daily life. Ancient observers, sitting in the silence of temple observatories, gazed at the vast expanse, marveling at the grandeur of celestial bodies and their movements. Such structures as Stonehenge also had astronomical significance, serving as a kind of calendar and observatory. No less interesting is the Antikythera mechanism, found in the waters off Greece in the early 20th century, which is an ancient device for calculating the movement of celestial bodies. This mechanism, dating back to the 1st century BCE, consisted of a complex system of gears and was capable of predicting the positions of the sun and moon, as well as eclipses. Its creation required exceptional engineering skills for its time, showing how profound the astronomical knowledge of ancient civilizations was. This device, in essence, is an analogue of the first mechanical calculators used for astronomical calculations. The sky that ancient peoples gazed upon was not just an object of admiration, but a vast map on which they found answers to many questions about their existence and their place in the world. At one time, at the entrance to the harbour of Rhodes, there stood a statue known as the Colossus of Rhodes, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. This magnificent bronze figure reached a height of approximately 33 metres, making it one of the tallest monuments of its time. The Colossus was erected on a stone base, and according to some sources, its weight often exceeded 200 tons. The statue depicted the sun god Helios, the patron of the island, and, according to legends, its gleaming bronze surface reflected sunlight, creating a dazzling spectacle for sailors approaching the harbour. As they passed by, the sound of waves crashing against the base of the giant figure created an atmosphere of grandeur and power, emphasizing the significance of this architectural marvel. Construction of the Colossus began in 280 BC and took about 12 years to complete, demonstrating the high level of engineering skill of the time. The statue was destroyed in a powerful earthquake that occurred around 226 or 227 BC, leaving only fragments and memories of its former glory. There are theories that the Colossus may have served not only a decorative function, but also as a lighthouse for ships entering the harbour. Some researchers suggest that its arms could have been raised in a welcoming gesture, indicating the path to a safe harbour. Thus, this monument not only symbolised the strength and prosperity of Rhodes, but also had practical value for sailors. Although it is impossible to restore the exact appearance of the Colossus, surviving descriptions testify to its grandeur. The bronze, gleaming in the sun, creates an image that continues to inspire artists and historians. Given that the Colossus was built using technology similar to that used for creating statues in ancient Egypt, it can be assumed that it became a symbol not only of architectural, but also of cultural power of its time. Legends about the Hanging Gardens of Semiramis, one of the 7 wonders of the world, sometimes seem more real than facts. These gardens, according to descriptions by ancient authors, consisted of a complex system of terraces supported by columns that rose to heights of up to 20 meters. Designed to create the illusion of a green oasis in the heart of the arid Babylon, where heat and dryness reigned, the gardens were likely built using a sophisticated irrigation system that brought water from the Euphrates River to sustain exotic plants on the terraces. This system could have included water lifts similar to those used in ancient Egypt, as well as channels that distributed water across all levels of the gardens. Despite their fame and detailed descriptions, archaeological excavations conducted since the 19th century have not yielded definitive remains of these wonders, leading to disputes about their actual existence or whether they were merely a myth. Many researchers, such as Graham Farrell and Jonathan Taylor, have proposed that the gardens might not have been in Babylon, but in another location, as the lack of artifacts casts doubt on their reality. Imagining these gardens, one can picture the vibrant colors of exotic plants, their fragrances mingling with the coolness of water flowing in the channels. The shade provided by dense trees offered respite from the scorching sun, while the contrast between the green of the gardens and the surrounding desert emphasized their uniqueness. Some researchers claim that even if the Hanging Gardens did not exist, the ideas behind them had a profound impact on architecture and gardening in subsequent centuries. Various cultures, from Romans to Persians, were inspired by the concept of creating green spaces in arid regions, confirming the significance of this myth in history. In the 18th century, French King Louis XIV, inspired by tales of the gardens of Semiramis, began the construction of the Versailles Gardens, which became a symbol of power and splendor. The abundance of plants, water, and shady spots became not only an aesthetic, but also a functional element that continues to captivate people to this day. Scientific research on the Hanging Gardens continues, and each new discovery can change our understanding of ancient Babylon. Studying these myths and realities helps us understand how ancient peoples used nature to create unique and inspiring spaces that could continue to amaze and inspire future generations. On the remote island of Easter, lost in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, stand hundreds of stone giants silently gazing into the distance. These monumental statues, known as moai, reach heights of up to 10 meters and can weigh up to 80 tons. Each one possesses unique features, including elongated faces, massive jaws, and expressive features, making them resemble ancient ancestors of the island's inhabitants. The moai are primarily located on the Ahu platform, which served as not only a place for their installation, but also as ritual platforms for worship. Around 13% of all the statues are found on Ahu Tongariki, where they are arranged in a row facing the ocean. The total number of moai on Easter Island exceeds 900, underscoring their importance in the culture of the island's native people, the Rapa Nui. However, the mystery of how these giant statues were transported from the quarries to the coast remains one of the most intriguing aspects of the island's study. Various theories exist about how the ancient Rapa Nui moved these colossal statues. One of the most widely accepted hypotheses suggests the use of logs as rollers, which, according to scientists, allowed the moai to be rolled across the ground. However, other researchers claim that the statues were moved by walking, with a group of people shifting them by tilting them forward and backward, which could have significantly simplified the transportation process. The sound of the ocean waves crashing against the shore behind these stone giants creates a mesmerizing atmosphere, while the wind carving their stern faces reminds us of the vibrant life that once thrived here. The isolation and mystery that envelop the entire island are accentuated by the fact that many of the statues remain unfinished, indicating complex cultural and social processes that took place on the island before its discovery by Europeans in the 16th century. Easter Island has become not only a place of captivating adventure, but also a site for deep reflection on human effort, faith, and culture. For each statue standing on this distant island holds fragments of history. 80 tons of stone, shaped and carved, have become a symbol of an entire civilization that, like the Moai themselves, teetered on the brink of extinction. Studying the Moai allows us not only to delve into the world of the Rapa Nui, but also to ponder how often humanity forgets its roots. Ancient civilizations possessed remarkable knowledge about the shape of the Earth, and this knowledge existed long before the era of Columbus. For instance, the Pythagoreans in the 6th century BC began to suspect that the Earth was spherical, based on observations of nature and celestial phenomena. They noticed that stars changed their positions in the sky depending on the location of observation, which indicated the curvature of the planet. Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher, in the 4th century BC, presented several arguments in favor of the spherical shape of the Earth. He observed that during lunar eclipses, Earth cast a circular shadow on the Moon's surface, and also noted that as one moved southward, new stars appeared in the field of view. Eratosthenes, who lived in the 2nd century BC, conducted a brilliant experiment. He measured the angle of the sun's rays in 2 different Egyptian cities, Alexandria and Syene, and, knowing the distance between them, calculated the circumference of the Earth with an accuracy of several hundred kilometers. His calculations showed that the circumference was approximately 62,000 stadia, which is very close to modern data. In the educated circles of ancient civilizations such as Greece, Rome, India, and China, knowledge of the spherical shape of the Earth was not uncommon. For example, in ancient Rome, the poet Virgil in his works also mentioned the spherical shape of the Earth. Observations of ships disappearing over the horizon confirmed this theory. First, the mast disappeared over the horizon, and then the ships themselves, which could not be explained if the Earth were flat. Additionally, in ancient times, people also paid attention to the starry sky, where stars revolved around the North Star, creating the illusion of a rotating sky dome. These observations inspired scientists to further research and study celestial phenomena, leading to the development of astronomy as a science. Overall, ancient knowledge about the sphericity of the Earth was more advanced than it might seem at first glance, and it became the basis for subsequent discoveries in the fields of geography and astronomy. Imagine a world where culture blazes like a star, suddenly illuminating the darkness. Around 4,000 years before our era, in Mesopotamia, between the rivers Tigris and Euphrates, the Sumerian civilization emerged, possessing a developed writing system, architecture, and complex social structure. The Sumerians, who called themselves black-headed due to the black caps they wore on their heads, created the first city-states such as Ur, Uruk, and Lagash, which became centers of trade, religion, and culture. These cities were surrounded by magnificent walls and had sophisticated irrigation systems that allowed them to maximize the productivity of their fertile lands. The Sumerians also developed cuneiform script, one of the earliest forms of writing, which used reed styluses to inscribe signs on clay tablets. This process created a characteristic sound, reminiscent of the rustling of reeds, and allowed them to record important events, commercial transactions, and laws. In their inscriptions, the Sumerians mentioned divine beings known as the Anunnaki, who, according to their beliefs, brought knowledge and culture to Earth. This mythology lent their civilization a unique mystique. The Sumerians also made significant achievements in astronomy, observing the movements of planets. They knew of 5 planets visible to the naked eye and used their observations to develop a calendar based on lunar and solar cycles, enabling them to accurately predict eclipses and other astronomical phenomena. Their knowledge of celestial bodies was so advanced that they even classified stars and created astronomical tables. Their views on the cosmos and time reflected a deep connection with nature, and their zodiacal system became the foundation for many subsequent astronomical systems. On Sumerian tablets, one can find records of medical practices and surgical methods that were quite advanced for their time. One tablet, dated around 2,000 years before our era, describes a procedure known as trepanation, which was believed to help treat epilepsy. In this context, the Sumerian civilization becomes not just a cultural phenomenon, but a true source of knowledge that continued to influence many peoples and civilizations in the future. In their society, specialized classes such as priests and scribes existed, who were responsible for preserving and transmitting knowledge, thus forming the basis for education as we know it. Archaeological finds, such as the famous Stele of Hammurabi, show that the Sumerians were also the first to develop a legal system, which became the foundation for the legal systems of future civilizations. These facts underscore that the Sumerian civilization did not arise out of nothing, but rather became the foundation for numerous subsequent cultures and events that shaped human history. Sumerian culture, in its development, opened new horizons, paving the way for future achievements in the fields of science, art, and philosophy. In ancient texts like the Mahabharata, one can find references to technologies that evoke a sense of awe in contemporary researchers. In particular, descriptions of shining weapons that emitted light brighter than 1,000 suns and rendered food poisonous are striking. These passages convey a sense of ancient wisdom and modernity, as if these knowledge were ahead of their time. This is not mere mythology, but evidence that ancient Indians held concepts that still astound us today. The Mahabharata also describes the consequences of using this weapon. Survivors lost their hair and nails, creating haunting images that linger in the memory. These details hint at the potential catastrophic consequences of technologies we can only speculate about. No less intriguing are other examples, such as the Vimanas, flying machines described in Vedic texts. These vehicles, according to ancient writings, could travel through the air and even into space, challenging traditional notions of technological progress. Passages mentioning Vimanas include details about their construction and capabilities, suggesting that ancient civilizations had access to knowledge we are just beginning to understand. Vedic texts also describe mirrors capable of transmitting images over distances, evoking associations with modern technologies like television and video conferencing. Reading these lines, one feels the contrast between archaic language and the modern sound of the described technologies. Vedic writings contain numerous descriptions of various mechanisms and devices that were likely part of daily life in ancient times. These references make one ponder how ancient cultures could develop their knowledge and technologies. It is important to note that many of these texts were written more than 3,000 years ago, making them even more mysterious and intriguing. Comparing these ancient achievements with modern scientific and technological advancements raises questions about how advanced these ancient civilizations truly were. These ancient texts open a window into a world that seems both distant and familiar, where technologies could have been an integral part of daily life. For example, descriptions of Vimanas include details about their use for air travel, with the ability to regulate speed and altitude. This evokes images of how ancient people might have dreamed of flying and interacting with the sky, much like we do today. Comparisons with modern technologies, such as drones and airplanes, become inevitable when reading about such devices. These discoveries and descriptions underscore that our understanding of history and technology may be significantly limited. Texts often dismissed as myths may contain kernels of truth waiting to be discovered. Research shows that ancient civilizations could have used technologies we are not even aware of, making this field of knowledge captivating and full of mysteries. Facts about ancient technologies, such as Vimanas and shining weapons, continue to inspire scientists and researchers, raising questions about how much more we can learn about the past. There are myths about the curse of the pharaohs that have frightened and fascinated people for centuries. One of the most famous cases occurred after the opening of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922. Lord Carnarvon, who funded the excavations, died shortly after the tomb was opened. His death occurred in April 1923, just a few months after the archaeologists entered the tomb. Lord Carnarvon was bitten by mosquitoes, and despite receiving medical treatment, his health rapidly deteriorated. He died from blood poisoning, and rumors of the pharaoh's curse spread quickly. Local residents claimed that the tomb was guarded by spirits who avenged those who disturbed their peace. Carnarvon's death caused a wave of panic among the other expedition members. More deaths followed, including that of archaeologist George Herbert, who also died under mysterious circumstances. Some died from diseases, while others died in accidents, adding to the mystery. However, scientific explanations also exist. Researchers point out that the tombs could have contained toxic mold spores that cause various diseases, including lung infections. Other scientists emphasize the psychosomatic effects, where fear and stress can lead to real physical ailments. Archaeologists entering the musty air of ancient burial chambers encounter various sensations. The dim light of torches casts shadows on hieroglyphic warnings written on the walls, creating an atmosphere of unease and uncertainty. These inscriptions, warning not to disturb the dead, can evoke feelings of fear and even paranoia in researchers. Ancient Egyptians believed that pharaohs continued to live in the afterlife, and any interference could provoke the wrath of not only the gods, but also the dead themselves. Considering all these factors, it's not surprising that the pharaoh's curse continues to be a topic of discussion and speculation. There are many other mysterious cases associated with the opening of other tombs and archaeological discoveries, where expedition members have encountered various misfortunes. For example, in 1932, after the opening of the tomb of Pharaoh Seti I, several expedition members' health rapidly deteriorated, which was also linked to the curse. All these circumstances surrounding the discovery of ancient tombs create an atmosphere of the unknown and dangerous, attracting both scientists and adventurers. Over the centuries, the myth of the curse has become an integral part of culture and history, inspiring literature and film, and continues to generate interest among people worldwide. The Pharaoh's curse is not just a fabrication. It is a symbol of fear of the unknown, as well as a reminder that ancient civilizations left behind not only material, but also mystical legacies. Tombs filled with mysteries and riddles continue to keep their secrets, and each new artifact or discovery only fuels the discussions and myths. In this context, it is worth mentioning that in 1933, after the opening of Tutankhamun's tomb, a group of researchers working in Luxor encountered a series of strange events, including sudden illnesses and even disappearances. These incidents also contributed to the perception of ancient tombs as places filled with mysteries and dangers. In the dense jungles of Yucatan, the mysterious city of Merida hides, a place where architecture embodies a blend of Mayan, Toltec, and many other cultural styles. The walls of Merida's ancient buildings, covered in greenery, seem to narrate the history of interactions between various civilizations. This was once a place of vibrant life, possibly serving as a significant trade and cultural hub connecting peoples hundreds of kilometers apart. Archaeologists exploring this region have uncovered numerous artifacts supporting theories of distant contacts. For instance, in 2005, during excavations, unique ceramic vessels with Olmec-style decorations were found, indicating trade ties with this ancient civilization. Buildings like the Church of St. John the Baptist exemplify the fusion of styles. Here, one can see elements characteristic of both classical Mayan architecture and later Toltec influences. They used local limestone, giving the structures a majestic appearance. Merida showcases intricate carvings that not only served as decoration, but also held ritual significance, reflecting the beliefs and customs of various peoples. The atmosphere here is filled with the sounds of the tropical forest, birdsong and the rustling of leaves, creating a sense that time has stopped. The diverse vegetation surrounding the ancient walls fills the air with the scent of flowers and vines, making a stroll among the ruins an unforgettable experience. Excavations continue, and each newly discovered artifact adds new chapters to the history of this extraordinary city. In 2019, researchers found unusual stone tablets with hieroglyphs that remain undeciphered, adding to the mysteries surrounding Merida. Each new day brings fresh discoveries that could change our understanding of this enigmatic place. In 2020, an archaeological team discovered remnants of unusual construction structures that they believe could have been part of a water supply system, indicating a high level of engineering skill among the local inhabitants. Merida remains an unsolved enigma, filled with secrets waiting to be revealed. Its architectural heritage continues to attract not only tourists, but also scholars from around the world, eager to unravel the mysteries hidden within the dense jungle greenery and among the stone walls. It is astonishing that the Aztecs developed a unique calendar system that not only organized their daily lives, but was also an integral part of their religious rituals. The main components of this system were the ritual calendar of Tonalpohualli, consisting of 260 days, and the solar calendar of Xiuhpohualli with a cycle of 365 days. Tonalpohualli was divided into 20 months of 13 days each, with each day having its own name and symbolism associated with gods and natural phenomena. Xiuhpohualli, on the other hand, consisted of 12 months of 30 days each, with the addition of 5 extra days considered ominous. These two calendars were combined into a complex system that formed a cycle of 52 years, known as a century. At the end of each century, the Aztecs performed ceremonies to renew the fire, during which they feared that the world might end. During these ceremonies, priests would ascend the sacred mountain to light a new fire, symbolizing the renewal of life and the beginning of a new cycle. The Aztecs were incredibly meticulous in their observations of the starry sky, recording the movements of planets and stars, which allowed them to predict astronomical phenomena such as solar and lunar eclipses. Their calculations were so precise that they could determine the time of an eclipse with an accuracy of several minutes. Their calendar did not simply mark days, but also determined the rhythmic flow of time, filled with ritual ceremonies, sacrifices, and festivals, highlighting the importance of the connection between celestial phenomena and earthly life. Each month brought new rituals, such as the celebration of the harvest, or rites in honor of rain gods, making the life of the Aztecs inseparable from their calendar system. Thus, the Aztecs did not just count time. They lived in accordance with its rhythms, making their culture remarkably rich and multifaceted. Rituals associated with the calendar were part of their identity, and every Aztec knew that their life was subject to these cosmic cycles. The complex structure of the calendar reflected not only their astronomical observations, but also their deepest philosophical and religious beliefs about the world and humanity's place in it. The calendar was not just a tool for tracking time, it was a sacred text that dictated the order of life and death, joy and fear, light and darkness. In the highlands of Bolivia lies a mysterious place known as Pumapunku, where stone blocks were cut with such precision that not even a knife blade can fit between them. These massive structures, some weighing up to 800 tons, are astonishing in their craftsmanship. Each block, carved from extremely hard andesite and granite, exhibits perfectly smooth surfaces and precise right angles, puzzling modern architects and engineers. It is hard to imagine how ancient builders could achieve such accuracy, as even modern tools often struggle with such materials. Some blocks are connected with metal clamps, adding to the mystery of this site. How and why did ancient people use metal in construction, when there are no written records of the creation of these structures? The atmosphere of Pumapunku immerses one in a state of deep contemplation. The thin mountain air, the silence among the ancient ruins create a sense of solitude and grandeur. The rough surrounding landscape contrasts with the incredible precision of the stonework, creating a unique combination that raises many questions. The ancient stone blocks, located at an altitude of over 3,800 meters above sea level, inspire awe and reverence. The 18-sided and many-sided forms, perfectly integrated into the structures, make one ponder the vision and technologies of those who created them. Pumapunku is not just a place, but a testament to human ingenuity, which still holds its secrets today. Research continues, but the exact methods and technologies used to create these monoliths remain unexplained, highlighting the complexity and uniqueness of this historical legacy. In the valley of the Indus River, there once existed cities that could rival modern megacities in terms of their urban planning and architecture. Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were the two largest centers of this civilization, which thrived approximately from the 20th century BCE to the 15th century BCE. The urban planning in these areas was remarkable. Streets intersected at right angles, and houses were built from fired brick, ensuring durability and stability. Mohenjo-daro was renowned for its citadel, a structure that stood above the city and served both religious and administrative purposes. Within this citadel was the Great Bath, a building measuring approximately 12 by 7 meters, used for ritual ablutions and likely having significant importance in the city's social life. Complex drainage systems allowed for the removal of wastewater, an impressive achievement for its time. Standardized weights and measures facilitated trade, while the bustling streets echoed with the cries of vendors, the aromas of spices, and the sounds of workshops. However, this grandeur could not withstand the onslaught of numerous disasters. Researchers propose various theories about the causes of this civilization's decline. One of the most well-known theories suggests changes in the river courses, which could have led to a shortage of water for irrigation. Climate changes, likely causing droughts, also played a role, undermining agriculture. The incursions of Aryan tribes, who began entering India around 2500 years BCE, may have been the final blow to an already weakened civilization. Epidemics, too, likely did not spare the inhabitants of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, decimating their populations. Gradually, once prosperous centers began to fall into disrepair, and the once bustling markets and workshops fell silent. Today, Mohenjo-daro is an archaeological site where one can see not only the ruins of buildings, but also traces of the life that once existed there, telling the story of the people who once inhabited these cities. Entering this desolate world, one can feel how time takes away not only material things, but also the memory of the greatness that once reigned here. Among the ruins, tourists can see remnants of a civilization that left an indelible mark on human history. In Mohenjo-daro, around 30,000 artifacts have been discovered, including seals, jewelry, and tools, offering insight into the high level of craftsmanship and culture of this enigmatic civilization. Ziggurats, these magnificent stepped towers of ancient Mesopotamia, served not only as architectural monuments, but also as symbols of religious and cultural life. Their height could reach 90 meters, and their form resembled staircases leading to the heavens, creating the impression that they sought to connect Earth and the divine. The construction of ziggurats was made of fired clay bricks, which were faced with glazed tiles, creating bright and striking facades. The most famous ziggurat is Etemenanke in Babylon, which, according to ancient texts, was dedicated to the god Marduk. Its summit, as believed, served as a temple where rituals were conducted, and ziggurats could perform other functions as well. There are various theories about their purpose. Some researchers suggest that they were astronomical observatories from which priests observed the stars and calculated time, while others believe that ziggurats could serve as shelters during floods, providing a safe place for residents. There is also the opinion that they symbolized the world mountain, connecting the heavenly and earthly realms. Climbing their monumental staircases, one feels approaching the heavens, and from the upper platform, one can enjoy a breathtaking view of the surrounding city. Narrow streets and houses, crossed by long shadows cast by the ziggurat at sunset. This creates an atmosphere of a sacred place where heaven and earth meet, and time seems to stand still. Ziggurats not only dominated the landscape, but also served as places of worship where ancient Mesopotamians sought connection with the gods, and their grandeur continues to impress archaeologists and historians to this day. More than 100 ziggurats were built across Mesopotamia, with the most famous ones located in Ur, Nineveh, and Babylon, each possessing unique architecture and history. Imagine ancient cities where water flows through canals, like life, sustaining the existence of millions of people. The Roman aqueducts built in the 1st century BC were an outstanding engineering achievement, allowing water to be transported over distances of up to 100 kilometers. These monumental structures, with their arches towering over valleys, not only supplied the city dwellers with water, but also served as symbols of the power of the Roman Empire. The water carried by the aqueducts came from the purest sources, and its gentle flow could be heard for many kilometers from the source. Mohenjo-Daro, one of the oldest civilizations in India, had a complex sewage system dating back to around 2000 years BC. This city featured both straight and inclined channels that connected to houses, and the wastewater was drained into a system, keeping the streets relatively clean. This system demonstrated a high level of sanitation and hygiene standards for its time. The Cretan water supply systems built by the Minoans also showcased their craftsmanship. Terracotta pipes carried water from mountain sources to homes and public buildings. The Minoan toilets with flushing systems and the public baths in Rome, where people gathered not only for washing but also for socializing, clearly demonstrated the importance of water in the lives of ancient people. Picture the coolness of underground cisterns where water was stored in the shade, and the echo in the vaulted chambers of Roman baths, where every sound reminded of the grandeur and luxury. The purity of running water contrasted with the dusty streets where people and animals bustled, creating a continuous flow of life and activity. Romans were proud of their water supply systems, which not only improved the quality of life, but also contributed to the development of cities. According to historians, in the 1st century AD, Rome had more than 12 aqueducts that daily supplied around 1 million cubic meters of water, serving as the basis for the functioning of public baths and fountains, creating a unique atmosphere in the city. In the mountains of China, in secluded caves, granite discs known as the Dropa discs were discovered. These artifacts have a diameter of approximately 30 centimeters and a central hole, with their surfaces adorned with spiral grooves reminiscent of micro-engraving. According to archaeological records, the discs were first found in 1938 by Chinese archaeologist Qipu Tei. In his reports, he mentioned that these stone artifacts were found in a remote mountainous region, in caves hidden from prying eyes. This gives the impression that the discs held secrets that could change our understanding of history and humanity. The spiral patterns on the discs have sparked numerous questions and theories. Some researchers suggest that they may contain information about a spacecraft crash, lending them a certain mystical aura. However, many scientists believe that the story of the crash is a myth created around these artifacts. This is not surprising, given that Qipu Tei did not provide sufficient evidence for his discovery, which has led to numerous debates and doubts among historians and archaeologists. Since the Dropa discs became known to the public, many scientists have attempted to decipher their inscriptions, but none of the attempts have been successful. The isolation of the locations where the discs were found adds to their mystery. The caves in which they were discovered are surrounded by steep cliffs and dense forests, creating an atmosphere of secrecy and solitude. Some researchers even suggest that these artifacts may be connected to ancient civilizations that possessed knowledge beyond our reach. The spiral patterns evoke associations with extraterrestrial life forms and technologies that we can only dream of. While some researchers believe they are the result of human creativity, others suggest that they are evidence of contact with more advanced civilizations. In the 19th century, these artifacts sparked enormous interest among enthusiasts of the paranormal and conspiracy theories. Scientific research on the discs continued for decades, and despite the lack of clear answers, they continue to attract attention. Some of the speculations surrounding the Dropa discs were due to their unusual design and the fact that they do not fit into the familiar frameworks of known artifacts. Nevertheless, many scientists point out the existence of similar objects in other cultures, which may indicate that the spiral patterns were a common motif for various civilizations. The Dropa discs have become a symbol of how easily myths can be created around historical finds. This story serves as a reminder of the importance of approaching such discoveries with critical thinking and a scientific approach. To this day, the Dropa discs remain an unsolved mystery, surrounded by numerous myths and speculations that continue to captivate the minds of researchers. Interest in these artifacts does not wane, and they continue to inspire new generations of archaeologists and researchers who strive to unravel their secrets. Ultimately, each new look at the Dropa discs can open new horizons for understanding our past. It's hard to imagine, but the ancient Egyptians processed stone with remarkable precision that remains a mystery to this day. Granite, with a hardness of 7 on the Mohs scale, was used to create monumental structures and statues that astound with their brilliance and smoothness. For example, in the Karnak temple, one can see enormous granite blocks, perfectly polished to a mirror-like state. These surfaces have maintained their smoothness over the course of millennia, attesting to the high level of skill of the ancient stonecutters. But how did they achieve such precision? One theory suggests the use of abrasive sand, which was likely mixed with water to create a polishing paste. On some monuments, traces of copper saws are visible, also indicating the use of copper tools in stoneworking. However, not all researchers agree with these theories. Some propose that the ancient Egyptians might have used sound technologies that allowed them to cut stone using ultrasonic vibrations. This seems fantastic, but such hypotheses fuel interest in the ancient methods of stoneworking. Particularly impressive are the cylindrical drill holes with minimal deviation, which can be observed on many ancient Egyptian artifacts. Such holes, executed with high precision, evoke admiration and challenge our understanding of the technologies of that era. The sound made by a stone when tapped resembles a melody from antiquity, reminding us that behind these massive blocks lies immense effort and knowledge. Basalt, with a hardness of 6, was also used to create various objects, including statues and decorative elements. Unlike granite, basalt has a finer grain structure, making it more convenient for carving, but no less complex to work with. Ancient masters skillfully used their tools to achieve perfect right angles and straight lines, raising questions about their skills and knowledge. In the Temple of Hatshepsut at Deir el-Bahri, one can see examples of diorite processing, which reaches a hardness of 7 to 8. This material is characterized by exceptional strength and weight, making it difficult to work with. However, the Egyptians managed this task, leaving behind masterpieces that retain their appeal to this day. Their work with stone formed the basis for many architectural achievements that continue to amaze. The pyramids, temples, and statues created from these materials serve as a reminder of the high skill and mysterious technologies used by the ancient Egyptians, which remain subjects of study and debate among historians and archaeologists. In particular, in the 20th century, archaeologist and engineer Joseph Farrell proposed that the ancient Egyptians might have used various methods that were not documented in historical records, once again raising questions about what else we do not know about the technologies of that era. Civilizations located at vast distances from one another often astound us with their unexpected connections and similarities, which make us ponder how these parallels could have emerged. For instance, in ancient Egypt, Mesoamerica, and China, pyramids were built, and although each of these cultures had its unique traditions and technologies, their architectural solutions exhibit remarkable similarity. Egyptian pyramids, such as the Great Pyramid in Giza, constructed around 2500 BCE, served as tombs for pharaohs and reflected their belief in an afterlife. Meanwhile, in Mesoamerica, pyramids like the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan were used for rituals and worship of gods and were built around the 1st millennium CE. Simultaneously, in China, pyramids such as those in the Lunmen area have their roots in ancient Buddhism and date back to the 3rd century CE. This raises questions. How and why did these different cultures arrive at similar architectural forms? Solar symbolism also plays a significant role in these civilizations. For example, in Mesoamerica, the sun was considered the source of life, and its worship was reflected in structures such as temples oriented towards the sunrise. In Egypt, the solar cult was an integral part of religion, representing the god Ra, who was reborn each day in the east. In China, solar symbolism also has deep roots, where the sun was perceived as a symbol of power and imperial status. These symbols, despite cultural differences, demonstrate how key elements of life and belief can be similar among different peoples. Flood myths are another intriguing aspect that unites various ancient cultures. In Sumerian mythology, the story of Gilgamesh recounts his quest for immortality and his encounter with a great flood, similar to the biblical flood, in which Noah saves his family and animals. In Mesoamerica, there is a flood myth described in the Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Maya, in which gods destroy the first attempts at creating humanity. This raises questions about whether these stories could have resulted from the exchange of knowledge between cultures or had common roots reaching back into the depths of millennia. In the scientific community, various theories explain these similarities. Diffusionism, for example, posits that cultural elements spread through contact between peoples. The idea of an ancient mother civilization is also popular, suggesting that all known civilizations share common roots, possibly in the form of a highly advanced culture that existed thousands of years ago. Some researchers, such as American archaeologist Graham Hancock, propose that ancient technologies and knowledge could have been lost but still influence architecture and mythology. It is interesting to note that in different parts of the world at the same time, advanced technologies emerge. For example, in ancient Egypt, complex measurement methods were used to ensure precision in the construction of pyramids, while in Mesoamerica, builders employed mathematical concepts to create their structures, such as pyramids, in relation to astronomical phenomena. In China, unique techniques were developed, such as the use of bamboo in construction and complex irrigation systems that ensured high crop yields. Thus, when looking at these remarkable cultural parallels, one gets the feeling that humanity, despite geographical barriers, moves along similar paths, creating a sense of mystery around the global connections that may have existed in the distant past. Scientific research, such as the work of archaeologist and anthropologist Jared Diamond, who studies the interaction of cultures and their development, underscores that these connections between civilizations may not be merely coincidental, but reflect a deep human need to understand the world and its mechanisms. Deep beneath the earth of Cappadocia lie entire worlds created by human hands. These underground cities, such as Derinkuyu and Kaimakli, reach depths of up to 20 levels and can accommodate thousands of people. Their complex infrastructure includes ventilation shafts, wells, and security systems that protect residents from external threats. For instance, stone doors weighing up to half a ton can seal entrances and prevent enemy access, while special shafts were used for ventilation to ensure fresh air. These cities could serve as shelters from persecution and enemy raids, providing protection during conflicts such as the Arab conquests in the 7th century, when residents sought safe havens. However, it is important not to overlook other theoretical functions of these underground spaces. Some researchers suggest that they were used for wine storage and production, thanks to the presence of special rooms and columns for pressing grapes, as well as religious centers for worship. The cool air in the underground creates an atmosphere of seclusion, while the muffled sounds of footsteps in the tunnels enhance the feeling of protection from the outside world. When torches illuminate the walls of volcanic tuff, the flickering light creates an effect of a living space where each stone and passage holds legends and secrets of millennia. Studies conducted by Turkish archaeologists show that these cities were not just temporary shelters, but full-fledged centers of life where people found protection, food, and the opportunity to worship their gods while hiding from external dangers. More than 30 such underground cities have been discovered in Cappadocia, making this region unique in the world and preserving traces of ancient civilizations that knew how to adapt to hostile environments. In the Atacama Desert, one of the driest places on Earth, stands a colossal geoglyph known as the Giant of Atacama. This anthropomorphic figure, approximately 190 meters tall, is carved into the side of a hill and depicts a human with elongated limbs and a large head. Creating such a geoglyph required considerable effort. Ancient people removed the top layer of earth, exposing dark stones that created a contrast with the bright sandy background. Scientists believe that the giant of Atacama could be up to 2,000 years old, placing it in the same league as other famous geoglyphs around the world, such as the lines of Nazca. There are several theories about its purpose. Some researchers suggest that it could have served as an astronomical marker, pointing to significant astronomical events or seasonal changes. Others link the image to the worship of deities associated with fertility, which is particularly relevant in the desert where access to water was crucial. Another hypothesis is that the figure indicated water sources in this harsh climate. In the scorching air of the desert, where temperatures can rise above 40 degrees Celsius, the giant of Atacama creates an atmosphere of an ancient message left for observers from above. The dark lines of the figure stand out clearly against the light sand, giving the impression that it is not just a drawing, but a warning, a call that was meant to be visible to those who could rise above the earth. It is interesting that many geoglyphs in this region were discovered only thanks to modern technologies such as aerial photography, highlighting the complexity and mystery of the ancient cultures that created these monumental works of art. In the 20th century, archaeologists and anthropologists like Dr. Christopher Patterson began to study these figures, trying to unravel their secrets and understand the role they played in the lives of ancient peoples. Each of these geoglyphs is not just a painting, but a window into the past, revealing much that is unknown about the lives of people who inhabited these lands thousands of years ago. Imagine a civilization that bloomed like a vibrant flower on the island of Minos, only to disappear suddenly into the depths of history. The Minoan civilization, which flourished on Crete around 3,000 years ago, was renowned for its palace complexes, such as Knossos, which boasted magnificent halls with plumbing and sewage systems far ahead of their time. Archaeologists like Sir Arthur Evans, who excavated Knossos in the early 20th century, discovered vivid frescoes depicting marine scenes and ritual dances, showcasing the civilization's high art and advanced culture. The Minoans actively traded with neighboring peoples, including the Egyptians and Hittites, using their powerful merchant fleets, which contributed to their economic prosperity. However, around 1600 BCE, a catastrophic event brought this brilliant era to an end. A volcanic eruption on the island of Santorini, known as Thera, caused a massive tsunami that devastated the coastal cities of Crete. Scientists suggest that this eruption may have released enormous volumes of ash into the atmosphere, blocking out the sun and altering the island's climate. This could have led to crop failures and famine, weakening the Minoan economy. However, not all researchers agree with this theory. Some point to the possible invasion of the Mycenaeans, who may have taken advantage of the Minoan state's weakening to seize control of the territories. Others emphasize internal social conflicts that could have arisen due to economic hardships and popular discontent. This created a chaotic atmosphere. The roar of the eruption, waves crashing onto the shores of Crete, ash blocking out the sun, and panic in once thriving cities. The Minoan civilization, leaving behind numerous mysteries and exquisite artifacts, now exists only as a shadow of its former glory, and scholars continue to puzzle over the enigma of its disappearance. Archaeological findings show that Knossos was severely damaged, with only ruins remaining outside its walls, a testament to the once flourishing culture. In the heart of the highlands of Bolivia, on the plateau of Tiwanaku, stand the famous Sun Gate, which inspires awe with its scale and architectural complexity. This monumental portal reaches a height of approximately 3 meters and a width of 4 meters, constructed from andesite weighing around 10 tons. The central element, a bas-relief, depicts a god with rays, which is not coincidental, as this image reflects a deep connection to ancient solar cults. Surrounding it are mysterious symbols that continue to spark debate among scholars. Some researchers suggest that this portal served as an astronomical marker for determining equinoxes and solstices. The Sun Gate is precisely oriented towards the sunrise on the winter solstice, confirming its significance as an astronomical structure. The site where the Sun Gate is located is surrounded by the thin air of the highlands, creating a unique atmosphere, and the interplay of light and shadow on the carved surfaces imparts a sacred character to this space. Each detail of the portal is rich in symbolism, making it not just an architectural object, but a true sacred space where ancient cultures expressed their beliefs and understanding of nature. Surrounding the central figure are other carved elements that may symbolize various aspects of the cosmos and time, although their exact meaning remains a subject of debate among historians and archaeologists. Some researchers even propose that the sun gate was used in rituals connected to agriculture, underscoring its importance for the communities that once inhabited these lands. Notably, Tiwanaku itself was a significant cultural and religious center that existed from around 2000 BCE to 1000 CE. The presence of such monuments as the Sun Gate attests to the high level of knowledge and skill of the local inhabitants in architecture and astronomy, making this object unique in human history. Each visit to this place fills one with the spirit of ancient history, prompting reflection on how many secrets still remain hidden within the stones. Ancient medical practices reveal a fascinating world filled with unexpected knowledge and skills that, at first glance, seemed accessible only to modern surgeons. One such example is trepanation, which was performed as early as the Neolithic period, around 7,000 years ago. Archaeologists have found skulls with characteristic holes made using stone or bronze tools such as drills and knives. This procedure involved drilling holes in the skull to treat various ailments, including headaches and epilepsy. Remarkably, many patients survived these operations, as evidenced by the signs of healing on the found skulls, where it is clear that the bones healed after the intervention. In Pompeii, archaeologists discovered medical instruments such as scalpels, forceps, and even clamps, which were used for surgical operations. These tools demonstrate that ancient physicians had a well-developed understanding of anatomy and surgery. Egyptian medical papyri, such as the Ebers papyrus, describe not only surgical methods, but also the use of herbs for treatment. These texts mention anesthetics based on opium and other plants, whose scent still evokes associations with ancient medicine. Ayurveda, the traditional Indian medicine, has developed over more than 3,000 years of experience and includes a wide range of practices, from surgery to phytotherapy. Here, plant extracts were also used as soothing agents to help patients endure complex procedures such as trepanation. It is hard to imagine the sound of tools scraping bone and the sensation of pain mixed with hope for healing when patients lay on tables, knowing that their lives depended on the skill of the surgeon. These ancient practices, despite their primitive tools and methods, demonstrate how far medicine has advanced. Trepanation, which might seem like madness today, was a step towards understanding and treating diseases about which we are not even aware. The presence of healing traces on skulls confirms that ancient physicians were not only able to operate, but also to care for their patients. Thus, in the early 12th century BC in Egypt, we see surgeons beginning to use more complex methods, including stitches made from plant materials to close wounds after operations. In the tropical jungles of Costa Rica, mysterious stone spheres are hidden, which are considered one of the most intriguing archaeological objects in the world. These perfectly round balls vary in size from several centimeters to 2.5 meters in diameter and can weigh up to 16 tons. They are primarily made of granodiorite, a material chosen not by chance. It is very strong and easily worked. At first glance, each sphere appears to be a work of art, created with astonishing precision, which raises questions about the capabilities of ancient people who made them. Some historians and archaeologists suggest that these spheres could have served as astronomical markers, indicating important astronomical events such as solar and lunar eclipses. Other researchers propose that they could have been symbols of status, used to denote power or wealth, and navigational aids for ancient travelers in dense forests. The arrangement of these stone spheres in specific geometric patterns adds to their mystery. They are not randomly scattered across the landscape, but were likely part of a more complex system connected to rituals or social structures of the time. In the humid air of the tropical forest, amidst chaotic vegetation, these man-made perfect spheres contrast with the wild nature, creating an atmosphere of ancient mystery that draws researchers and tourists alike. The first mentions of the stone spheres date back to the early 20th century, when, in 1906, archaeologist Clement Waddell discovered them in the Delta del Taral region. Since then, more than 300 such spheres have been found, but their true purpose and method of creation remain unsolved. Some spheres have been damaged due to human activity, but many still stand in their original places, inspiring awe and questions about how ancient peoples could have created such precise forms. These stone spheres are over 1,000 years old and continue to attract the attention of scientists and tourists who strive to unravel their mystery. Studying these objects opens a new chapter in understanding the culture of the indigenous peoples of Costa Rica and their interaction with their environment. Beneath the depths of the Bermuda Triangle, off the east coast of the Bahamas, lies a mysterious structure that initially appears to be an ancient road, paved with perfectly rectangular blocks. These stone formations, located at a depth of about 15 meters, create a clear outline that raises numerous questions among archaeologists and researchers. There are two main theories about the origin of this structure. Some believe it to be the remnants of an ancient civilization, possibly Atlantis, while others claim it to be ordinary geological formations created by natural processes. In 1930, the renowned American psychic Edgar Cayce predicted that remains of Atlantis would be found in this area, adding another layer of mystery to this already intriguing story. Investigations of this underwater road are conducted not only by scientists, but also by diving enthusiasts who describe their dive as a journey to another world. Sunlight penetrating the water creates a magical play of light, illuminating swaying seaweed that wraps around the massive stone blocks. The water whispers softly as if sharing its ancient secrets, and researchers, immersed in this spectacle, feel part of something great and inaccessible. Each movement in this aquatic environment fills the atmosphere with mystique, emphasizing the secret connections between human myths and natural phenomena. The structure, frozen in time, continues to intrigue and spark debate. 80 years ago, in 1930, the first diver who encountered this anomaly could not have imagined that its discovery would ignite such controversial discussions. Proponents of the Atlantis theory suggest that such constructions could have been part of an advanced civilization's developing infrastructure, while skeptics point out that such formations can also arise from natural processes like erosion or sedimentary deposits. Scientific research conducted in recent decades has not definitively confirmed either theory, only fueling interest in this location. Researchers continue to make underwater recordings and analyze data to try and unravel the mystery of the Bimini Road. No findings can be considered final until more evidence is presented to either support or refute existing hypotheses. The object remains a focus of attention for both scientists and adventurers seeking to solve this underwater enigma, which has become a symbol of humanity's desire to understand its past. At the Palace of Knossos on Crete, there was architecture so complex and multi-layered that it became the prototype for the legend of the Labyrinth of the Minotaur. Built around 2,000 years before our era, this palace has a multi-level structure with more than 1,000 rooms connected by intricate corridors, making it a true labyrinth. The architects used advanced engineering systems, including water supply and sewage systems, which were highly unusual for their time. Vibrant frescoes depicting scenes from the life of the Minoans, such as dances and athletic competitions, adorn the walls, giving the rooms life and color. One of the most impressive places is the throne room, where a stone throne, surrounded by columns in the characteristic Minoan style, is located. This throne was likely used for rituals related to the cult of the bull, emphasizing the Minoans' connection to this animal. The cult of the bull can be traced through numerous artifacts found on the palace grounds, including images, frescoes, and ritual objects. In the storage rooms, which occupy a significant part of the palace, archaeologists discovered thousands of clay tablets with Linear A script, indicating a highly developed system of record-keeping and administration. Light shafts located in different parts of the building fill the interior spaces with soft light, creating a unique atmosphere where the air is filled with the scent of the sea, wafting in through the open courtyards. The sounds of life in the palace, laughter, conversations, footsteps, echo through the corridors, reminding us that this place once bustled with life. The Palace of Knossos, being not only an administrative center, but also the cultural and religious heart of the Minoan civilization, has left behind many mysteries that continue to attract the attention of scholars and tourists from around the world. Every corner of this place is filled with history, and each fresco and tablet is a testament to the complex and rich culture that left its mark on human history. Ancient rock paintings found worldwide often raise more questions than answers, and among them are images that can be interpreted as representatives of extraterrestrial civilizations. In particular, in the caves of Sierra de la Luna in Argentina and on the plateau of Nazca in Peru, researchers have discovered strange figures resembling astronauts in spacesuits. These images, dating back over 4,000 years, cause bewilderment and raise the question of possible contacts between ancient people and cosmic beings. Vedic texts such as the Mahabharata describe vimanas, flying machines that could move both in the air and underwater. Mentions of such devices in the context of ancient Indian mythology are astonishing, as they may indicate the existence of advanced technologies that were unavailable at the time. Furthermore, in Mayan culture, figures resembling astronauts are mentioned, and images of flying saucers appear on medieval frescoes in European churches, such as in the Basilica of St. Peter in the Vatican. Proponents of the paleocontact theory often base their arguments on the sudden appearance of highly developed civilizations and their technologies, such as the construction of pyramids, which were built using methods unknown at the time. For example, the Egyptian pyramids, built around 2,500 years before our era, demonstrate architectural solutions that remain a mystery to historians and architects. Critics of this theory argue that such explanations oversimplify complex processes of cultural exchange and development. The scientific community insists that civilizations could achieve such heights through their own inventions and efforts, rather than external interference. Nevertheless, the mystery persists. How could ancient people perceive a meeting with beings possessing advanced technologies? The feeling of awe, fear, and confusion in the face of such phenomena could have become the basis for myths and legends passed down through generations. As a result, similar images and stories have emerged in different cultures, adding to the enigma of this topic. For instance, in ancient Greek texts, there are mentions of gods descending from the heavens, which can also be interpreted as evidence of encounters with extraterrestrials. There are numerous examples that highlight this connection, but none provide a definitive answer to the question of whether our ancestors truly encountered extraterrestrial civilizations, or if it was merely a product of human imagination and the desire to explain the unknown. One such example is the discovery of mysterious circles in the vicinity of Cusco in Peru, which may be related to ancient rituals or the observation of celestial bodies. In particular, such circles could indicate astronomical events and serve as evidence that ancient people possessed advanced knowledge of astronomy. In one of the ancient Egyptian temples of Hathor in Dendera, mysterious bas-reliefs were discovered, depicting elongated objects that remarkably resemble modern electric lamps. These objects have a characteristic shape, are long and curved, with a dark element inside that can be interpreted as a filament. They are accompanied by structures that resemble wires, suggesting some kind of power source. Some researchers claim that these images could serve as evidence of the existence of electricity in ancient Egypt, challenging traditional views on the development of technology in antiquity. However, there is another perspective. According to it, this is a symbolic representation of the lotus flower, which was associated with the rising sun and life force, emphasizing the religious aspects of ancient Egyptian worldview. In the temple, illuminated by soft light, one can feel the atmosphere of ancient mystery as the researchers' eyes glide over the bas-reliefs, which seem to whisper about long-forgotten knowledge. Gilded artifacts and vividly preserved colors confirm that ancient Egyptians possessed knowledge of chemistry and electricity. For example, in the 20th century, archaeologists discovered golden and bronze artifacts that demonstrate a high level of skill in metalworking. These artifacts indicate that the technologies used in ancient Egypt may have been much more advanced than is commonly believed. Some archaeologists even suggest that in this temple, simple electrical devices may have been used in rituals and lighting. Combined with other findings, such as remnants of colouring agents and vessels that could have contained electrochemical components, this creates an intriguing picture of ancient knowledge that remains largely speculative. The Temple of Hathor in Dendera is not only a place of worship, but also a repository of many mysteries that continue to stir the minds of researchers and history enthusiasts. In Colombia, mysterious golden artifacts known as golden airplanes were discovered. These artifacts, created by the Quimbaya culture between the 3rd century BC and the 9th century AD, are small figurines with triangular wings, a vertical stabilizer, and a shape reminiscent of the fuselage of a modern airplane. When researchers created scale models based on these artifacts, they found that they could be aerodynamically stable. The length of the figurines varies from several centimeters to over 10, and the golden luster under museum lights creates a captivating atmosphere, highlighting the elegance of ancient jewelry craftsmanship. The contrast between the primitive technologies used in their creation and their futuristic appearance raises many questions. Some researchers believe these figurines could be evidence of ancient flying machines used for air travel, while others interpret them as stylized images of birds or insects, which is more in line with the ancient people's understanding of nature. It is important to note that the Quimbaya culture, located in the region of modern-day Andes, was a remarkable civilization known for its goldsmithing workshops and exquisite artistic creations. Scholars such as archaeologist David E. Stewart have studied these artifacts, drawing conclusions about the complex rituals and symbolism of the Quimbaya culture. These golden airplanes continue to captivate researchers, challenging traditional views on the development of civilizations in pre-Columbian America. Discoveries related to these artifacts have been made at sites like the El Tigre Cemetery, where over 50 figurines were found, each reflecting unique aspects of artistic expression and technological achievements of its time. These objects not only amaze with their form, but also make one ponder how deeply ancient peoples understood aerodynamics and how they interpreted their world. The complexity and skill exhibited in creating these figurines underscore the high level of artistic and technological development of the Quimbaya culture, which left behind a legacy that continues to fascinate contemporary researchers. Ultimately, these golden airplanes remain an unsolved mystery, reflecting the richness and complexity of pre-Columbian American history. Notably, some artifacts reach a length of 18 centimeters, adding further intrigue to their possible functions and meanings. Approximately 40,000 years ago in Europe, a group of people known as Cro-Magnons appeared on the horizon of archaeological history. These were Homo sapiens who not only survived the harsh conditions of the Ice Age, but also began creating art that even contemporary artists find astonishing. On the walls of caves like Lascaux in France and Altamira in Spain, realistic cave paintings depicting bison, deer, and even hunting scenes have been preserved, executed with remarkable precision. These images, created using red and black pigments, often date back to the time when the caves were illuminated by the flickering light of primitive lamps made from stone and animal fats. The caves where these artists worked became true galleries, where each brushstroke reflected a unique connection between humans and nature. It is also noteworthy that the Cro-Magnons created sculptures, such as the famous Venus of Willendorf, and musical instruments, including flutes made from bird bones, indicating a highly developed culture and a high level of artistic expression. The technical achievements of the Cro-Magnons are impressive. They used needles with eyes, which is a significant advancement in textile production, as well as harpoons and atlatls, which allowed them to throw spears at great distances, demonstrating their advanced hunting skills. However, the question remains, where did they acquire these skills and technologies if there were no visible predecessors? This question remains open for scientists. Unlike the Neanderthals, who led a more primitive lifestyle, the Cro-Magnons demonstrated a sharp leap in cultural evolution. Often, in caves, one can see the glint of red and black paint on wet walls, creating the impression that the artists still live among us. These ancient creations continue to inspire awe, highlighting the mystery and complexity of human history, which seems to begin in these dark but inspiring places. The skills and ideas embedded in these works undoubtedly influenced the further development of human culture. In some caves, archaeologists find traces left by people who may have used these places as sanctuaries or as platforms for learning and transmitting knowledge, confirming that art and technology developed in the context of social interactions. Ancient peoples living in the region of Goseck in Germany, around 4,900 years before our era, built observatories to observe celestial bodies. The Goseck Circle is a Neolithic structure consisting of concentric circles of earthen mounds, supplemented with wooden posts and palisades. This construction was meticulously designed to accurately align with the rising and setting of the sun on key days of the year, such as the winter and summer solstices. Researchers like Dr. Jens Falk from the University of Cologne assert that the size and shape of these circles could indicate significant astronomical events, suggesting that the ancient builders possessed advanced knowledge of astronomy. The atmosphere during these moments was filled with pre-dawn silence as observers gathered in anticipation of the appearance of the solar disk, which gradually emerged through the gap between ancient stones. These moments were imbued with a sense of connection to cosmic cycles, likely evoking deep spiritual experiences. Similar observatories, such as Stonehenge in England and Newgrange in Ireland, also served astronomical observation purposes. Stonehenge, built around 3,000 years before our era, features stone blocks arranged in a circle that precisely align with the sunrise on the summer solstice. Newgrange, dating back approximately 3,000 years, is a tomb where astronomical alignments allow light to enter at specific times of the year. The observatories of the Maya, such as El Caracol in Chichen Itza, also demonstrate the high astronomical knowledge of these ancient civilizations, where circular structures were positioned to observe the movements of planets and stars. Ancient peoples used these structures not only for practical astronomical observations, but also for creating calendars and predicting the time for sowing and harvesting. The astronomical data recorded in these structures reveal a level of understanding of nature that was not merely theoretical. The sun rising through the observatory openings symbolized not only astronomical events, but also the cyclical nature of life, adding further significance to their existence. One of the most enigmatic figures of ancient Egypt is Queen Nefertiti, whose name and image continue to spark numerous questions and debates among historians and archaeologists. Nefertiti was not merely the wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten, but also an active participant in his religious revolution, which occurred in the 14th century BC. She became a symbol of the new monotheistic cult centered on the worship of the sun disk, Aton. Images of Nefertiti found on reliefs and statues confirm that she was not only beautiful, but also a powerful woman of her time. The legendary statue of Nefertiti, discovered in 1912 by archaeologist Ludwig Borchardt, showcases her idealized image with perfectly symmetrical facial features and a crown, making it one of the most famous artifacts of antiquity. However, after the 12th year of Akhenaten's reign, mentions of Nefertiti suddenly cease, giving rise to various theories about her fate. Some researchers suggest that she might have perished during an epidemic that swept Egypt at the time. Others propose that she could have been exiled or changed her name, which might have allowed her to rule as co-regent, or even as a sole ruler under the name Smenkhkare. Notably, archaeologists discovered a mysterious mummy known as the Younger Lady in the tomb Cave 35 in the Valley of the Kings, and some researchers suggest that this could be the mummy of Nefertiti. However, the identification of the mummy remains a subject of debate. Modern technologies such as computed tomography have allowed researchers to study the mummy, but definitive conclusions about her identity have not yet been made. The search for Nefertiti's tomb continues today, and while some believe she might be hidden in a secret chamber in Tutankhamun's tomb, these are currently just hypotheses. Ultimately, Nefertiti remains one of the most charismatic and enigmatic figures of the ancient world, symbolizing not only beauty, but also political power, which, like the queen herself, has vanished without a trace. The ancient Egyptians created a unique collection of texts known as the Book of the Dead, which served as a guide for souls in the afterlife. This compendium of spells and instructions placed in tombs with the deceased was intended to help them overcome the dangers of Duat, the realm of the dead, filled with traps and trials. A key aspect of this book was the weighing of the heart before Osiris, the god of the afterlife. According to Egyptian beliefs, the heart of the deceased was placed on scales, where it was compared to the feather of Ma'at, a symbol of truth and justice. If the heart was heavier than the feather, the soul faced dire consequences. It would be devoured by the demon Amit, which meant destruction. Souls wishing to enter the fields of Aru, the Egyptian paradise, had to navigate numerous challenges, such as encounters with various mythical creatures and solving complex riddles. The Book of the Dead contained spells that directed how to behave in these situations to avoid dangers and achieve eternal bliss. These texts not only reflected the religious views of ancient Egyptians, but also demonstrated their deep faith in the afterlife, which continued after physical death. The process of mummification was an integral part of these beliefs. Egyptians believed that preserving the body was necessary so that the soul could return to it in the afterlife. They used complex technologies, including the removal of internal organs and the use of natron to dry the body. Mummified bodies were placed in sarcophagi, often richly decorated and containing images of gods who were meant to protect the deceased. Tombs also contained items necessary for life after death: food, drink, jewelry, and even toys. This was done so that the deceased could enjoy all the comforts in the afterlife. The atmosphere of funeral rituals was filled with solemnity and respect. The flickering of torches in burial chambers created a mystical ambience where everyone present understood the significance of the moment. Priests chanted spells, and musicians played melodies, creating a sonic palette that was meant to accompany the soul on its journey. Ancient Egyptians believed that this life was merely a preparation for the true existence after death, and every action in the funeral process was imbued with meaning. This belief in a real continuation of life after death was evident in every element of their culture, from the architecture of tombs to the rituals, making them unique among ancient civilizations. The Book of the Dead consisted of numerous texts, including spells that could vary depending on the time and place of burial, as well as the preferences of the deceased. For example, some versions contain up to 250 spells, while others may include more than 100. These texts were not just a literary work. They were an essential element of religious practice that defined life and death in ancient Egypt. For centuries, ancient secret societies meticulously preserved knowledge that remained inaccessible to the majority. One of the most famous examples is the Eleusinian Mysteries, which existed in ancient Greece from the beginning of the first millennium BCE. The mysteries of Eleusis were connected with the veneration of the goddess Demeter and her daughter Persephone. These rituals included complex initiations that took place in secret places where participants were immersed in hidden knowledge about life, death, and rebirth. During these initiations, newcomers took an oath of silence, vowing never to reveal what they had learned, which created an atmosphere of exclusivity and mystery. The Pythagorean Union, founded by Pythagoras in the 6th century BCE, also had its secrets. Members of this society studied mathematics, music, astronomy, and philosophy, adhering to strict rules and rituals. They used symbolic gestures and passwords that were passed down from generation to generation, creating a sense of connection to ancient knowledge. The Pythagoreans believed that numbers were the foundation of the universe and sought to understand harmony through the study of numbers and their relationships. The cult of Mithras, which became popular in the Roman Empire, also had its secret rites. Mithraism emerged in the 1st century CE and was based on the veneration of the god Mithras, who, according to legend, killed a sacred bull, symbolizing the victory of light over darkness. Initiation into the cult of Mithras involved multiple stages, each revealing new levels of knowledge and understanding, making the process of initiation lengthy and complex. Participants gathered in underground temples by the light of torches, where they performed rituals based on ancient myths, creating an atmosphere of sacred mystery. Secret societies preserved not only practical knowledge, such as medicine and astronomy, but also philosophical ideas about the nature of reality and the human soul. This exchange of knowledge created a continuous thread of tradition that linked ancient civilizations with modern searches for meaning and understanding. The intricate and complex structure of secret societies demonstrates how knowledge can be both a tool of power and a means of spiritual development. The Eleusinian mysteries, Pythagorean teachings, and the cult of Mithras are vivid examples of how ancient societies sought truth and meaning in a world shrouded in mystery and secrecy. The cultures that participated in these rituals left behind a legacy that continues to evoke interest and admiration. The mysteries of Eleusis, for instance, continued to be performed for many centuries, even after the advent of Christianity, and their influence was felt well into late antiquity. Thus, secret societies did not merely exist, they shaped the thinking of entire epochs.